Okay, Duke head coach Mike Krzyzewski, Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, and Trey Jones are making their way through the holding area. We'll take an opening statement from Coach K, and then we'll open it up for questions for the student athletes specifically. If you have a question, please raise your hand and wait for a microphone to be brought to you. After the opening statement, we'll take questions for the student athletes first, and we will then dismiss the student athletes to the breakout sessions. Good afternoon. Yep.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Well, obviously, we're honored to be in the Elite Eight and excited about the opportunity to play against a storied program and coach in Michigan State and Tom Izzo. Our guys have really done a good job. Hopefully we can recover real quick. It hasn't been too many hours ago since we were here. And so that's part of our preparation, is to try to get as fresh as possible for what we expect to be an outstanding game tomorrow afternoon. So any questions?
All right, I'm going to start right down here in the middle. Again, please state your name and your affiliation and direct your questions to one of the student athletes specifically.
Paul Woody, Richmond Times-Dispatch. I'd like to start with Zion, but any other players may chime in if they wish. Zion, you undoubtedly had an opportunity to go to any number of colleges. I'm wondering why you selected Duke. Was it the tradition? Was it that you've seen players get prepared for the NBA? Was it the chance to exchange dazzling repartee with Coach K?
I think it's kind of like all the above. And also, I watched Duke growing up, so I think the opportunity to play for Coach K is something I couldn't turn down. And then also I had a great relationship with RJ, Trey, and Cam already. And, we would be in a group message talking about, like, trying to do something special. And then also, Coach K is the greatest, so, like, he knows, like, how to get players better, and he'll, like tell you your game in a way you never looked at it. So it was just, like, so many factors that went into selecting Duke.
Okay, Courtney over there.
Hondo Carpenter with Spartan Nation. For the three of you, can you give us your thoughts after seeing the film, what you think of the Spartans' defensive tenacity, please?
Trey, can you start for us?
Yeah, they're a really experienced team. They got big guys inside there, physical and strong, and then they got perimeter players that are athletic as well. So they're a really good defensive team, like you said.
RJ, anything to add about the Michigan State scouting report?
Definitely experienced team. So they definitely know, what to do. Have a great coach. They have a great program. So they're definitely, a great defensive team.
All right, we're going to stay on our right-hand side.
Mark Herman from Newsday in New York. RJ, this is one for you personally. What have you learned or what have you know about your dad's college basketball career? And generally, what has he meant to your basketball?
I remember him transitioning from, just being a dunker to being able to hit some threes later in his college career. And, he's just been, great influence for me. He's kind of gone through, this college experience, so he's been able to help me just that way. Just being in my ear and giving me confidence and, just being my dad, really.
All right, we're going to come up back here right into the middle. Yep.
This is for Zion. There were a lot of Virginia Tech fans in the building yesterday, obviously some booing, but also certainly some Duke fans and probably a lot of Zion fans, too. Now, you've had some big individual performances kind of around the country this year, from New York to here, Hawaii. Have you been able to reflect just on how much of a national kind of following you've grown this year?
What's the exact question?
What's that?
What was the exact question?
Have you been able to reflect on the national following you've gotten as a college freshman and how likable you are to a lot of people?
No, I haven't thought about that at all. I'm just enjoying my college experience with my brothers and with Coach K and the coaches, and I feel like it'd be kind of selfish of me to think about that. But, I mean, I'm just trying to make the most of this opportunity and hopefully win a national championship.
We'll stay right down here on our
Stephen
right
Watt,
hand side.
Associated Press for Zion and Trey. Do you remember watching any Duke Michigan State games growing up, and kind of how big of a matchup this tends to be in the NCAA tournament, and how much are you looking forward to being part of one?
Right. I remember, obviously in 2015, the matchup. I'm in the Final Four, but they have a really good program, similar to Duke. That they have a winning tradition, and I mean they were a really good coach as well, and so it'll be a good battle tomorrow.
I remember watching the 2011 Duke Michigan State game with Kyrie Irving and also the 2015 Final Four, and both games are great. I mean, both programs have winning history, so like it's always going to be a great game.
Marty.
Marty Smith, ESPN. Zion, you just called Coach the greatest of all time, and Trey, you actually said that same sentence to me last week on campus. Take us inside the program. What do you guys see that we can't see that makes him the greatest in your mind? I like that smile.
Control their playing time.
I mean, a lot. I mean, he sees the game in ways that, like, I would have never even have thought of. And, you know, like, when he makes one play call, it's not for that, like, play. It's, like, trying to give us momentum for, like, the next 3-4 plays. And I think the way he's able to adjust every year with different teams and different players, and, I mean, the way he's able to always keep us motivated, like, for every single game, I think it's, like, second to none.
All right, we'll stay right in front of Marty there.
Matt Sachs for the Hoya. This goes to any of the players. Coach mentioned the challenge of not playing with Cam, that you prepared with him all week and you weren't able to play with him last night. What was that challenge like, and will your game plan change as players if he's not able to play Sunday?
RJ, we'll start.
I mean, definitely, missing Cam out there, it's tough to have a game plan and then, a couple minutes before tip-off see that, he's out. But we've gone through so much adversity that, we were able to step up last night, and just moving forward, whether he plays or he doesn't, we're going to have to give everything we got.
We'll start right down here, right underneath us.
Bob Wadowski from the Detroit News. For Zion, what have you seen? Michigan State has some big guys up front line. You faced big guys before. What do you see in their front line and the challenge that awaits?
They're very aggressive and physical, and they rebound the ball very well. And, they have great motors, so I think they're a great team. Their bigs are very great as well. So we're just going to have to, like, try our best to contain them.
And I think we want right down here in the front.
John Fanta for College Hoops Digest. Zion, you continue to say that Coach K has seen things in your game that you may have not seen in yourself. What are some of those things?
I don't know if I want to talk about that. It's kind of like a coach player.
It's an intimate.
Joe Christensen, Minneapolis Star Tribune. Trey, can you describe your impressions of Zion when you would see like the YouTube dunk videos in high school, and then kind of how different that is from when you play with him and understanding the feel he has for the game?
Right. I heard about him before. Probably the rest of you heard about him through YouTube and things like that. Coach actually told me about him before I even got the chance to meet him, and said how good of a player he was, and that I will probably be seeing all of his highlights one day, and him dunking and things like that. But he can really play. He can pass the ball extremely well, and he's a really good playmaker. And so, I mean, when Coach says that, obviously that's going to be my first impressions too, because how well Coach knows the game and how smart he is.
Stay right in the middle.
Trey, for Trey. Is that on? Okay. What are your impressions of Cassius Winston going into this game?
Right. He has an extremely high IQ. He's a really good point guard, lead guard for them. I mean, he has the ball a lot for them. He's their playmaker. He makes all the decisions for them. So he's going to try to make the game as tough as I can on him.
Any other? Wait, we got another one. We got time for about 2 or 3 more.
Zion, I had asked RJ about you before the first day you got here. I'll return the favor. What might we not see about RJ that you know? What makes him such a top flight player?
His ability to affect the game in multiple ways, and his killer mentality. Like RJ, as you saw yesterday, he went into the half with like 7 assists, and for anybody that thinks that's an off half, you're responsible for 7 baskets. Like, that's not an off half. And I mean, in the second half, like, at one point he single-handedly took the game over, and his will to win, like, I think that is the best thing about him. Like, he wants to win, and no matter what he has to do, he's going to do it.
Hondo Carpenter. Ryan, question for you. You're a physical player. You enjoy the physicality of the game. Is there a sense of excitement knowing you're going to play a team that likes the physical side of the game just as much as you do?
I mean, I'm excited for every game, but, yeah, I guess you can say I'm excited about that just because they're a great team. Like, they have winning history. Like, I'm excited to play against Michigan State. Like, that's why you come to college to be a part of games like this.
All right, we're going to dismiss the student athletes, and we'll leave Coach Krzyzewski here on the dais. The student athletes will be moving over to the breakout sessions. So Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, Trey Jones, Marquise Bolden, and Javin Delorier are going to move to the breakout sessions, which is over your right-hand shoulder on the press row side of the arena. And we got a bunch of hands already, so Courtney will start right with Pete in the middle, and we'll kind of work our way through the middle of the room.
Mike, could we just start with a quick injury update on Cam? Obviously, it's not been long since you've been here. But
Yeah, it'll be a game time decision. Like, he's getting treatment today, and we really haven't been out on the court yet. And after we stretch, and we're not going to really do anything physical today. We got to be careful. But just to see how he feels. And I will see if he's progressed, we might try to get him to shoot or – yeah, but we haven't done that yet.
Is there a diagnosis, Mike?
He's had a little bit problem with his knee. It's not structural.
Okay.
It's not nothing structural, and a jumper's knee, a tendonitis. I guess there are a number of different things, but at different times it can inhibit you, or you feel pretty good, and then you can play, or you can work yourself through it. But yesterday, we weren't able to do that.
I have one big picture question for you. This is not something on the forefront of your mind right now, facing Michigan State in 24 hours, but 2021 or 22, the NBA draft rule changes. A couple of these guys sitting up here wouldn't play for Duke or anyone, very likely, as the way things go. I'm just curious how much...
Or maybe more would. I don't think it's a done deal that everyone will do that.
Sure.
Because of a big thing about going to the NBA is staying in the NBA, and trying to be prepared once you go in there, not just physically but emotionally. And I applaud, and I'm glad that kids will be given the opportunity to then make a decision. Am I ready to do that? Or the other thing, I would hope that the powers to be, that the NBA will be well prepared. The NCAA is not prepared right now. They need to be in concert with the NBA in developing a plan that is specific for men's college basketball. And that should include what an athlete gets, how he's been taken care of, whether or not there's a reentry. If something, I mean, it really, Pete, it's deep. And if we only look at it shallow, then we're doing a disservice to the kids. And that's why I would hope that the NCAA has someone leading this to figure it all out. And there should be we should already have a plan. And I think what you do is the NBA has a plan, then we have a plan, and you say, well, do they mesh? Okay, oh, that's pretty good, your plan. In other words, we work a little bit better than our government, where we don't just sit on both sides of the aisle, but to work together for the good of the game, and the game is good if we take care of the kids who play it. And we're in this really changing time that it behooves us to be ahead of it. And that's why to comment on what's going to happen, we don't know what's going to happen. We should be figuring that out in a smoother way. And I would really be a proponent for all of you to push that issue in whatever way you think it is. I'm not telling you what to do, but that needs to happen. It can't be, well, yeah, they're going. What does that mean? What does it mean? Yeah, how are we doing all this? And so that's what I would like. That's what I would like to see happen.
Stay over there in the corner.
Stephen Wino, Associated Press, down to your right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Following up on Pete's question, if this does happen, how for the NBA
Well,
making
it's
rule
going to
changes,
happen.
Yeah, how would you and other coaches have to kind of change how you evaluate and,
Well,
and recruit high school players, if at all?
Tell me the environment that we're going to be in. That's what I'm saying. We don't know that environment. I don't know that environment. I don't know how a youngster will be taken care of. Is the G League advanced? Do they have a TV contract? Look, if it gets that, they're going to, if a kid coming out of high school does not go to college and get marketed, I would think the NBA would want to market. So is there another form of TV there that the NCAA is then competing against? I mean, all these things, those are, to me, fundamental issues here that need to be looked at. And I don't see any discussion about those. Do you? No, I don't see anything. And these are just fundamental things that are going to happen because the NBA is a business. It's an amazing business. They're going to have a model. What's our model? And how do we cooperate with them and the Players Association?
We'll go right here.
So I almost feel bad bringing it back to these games. But you've had Zion for a relatively short period of time. You used to see a kid grow and mature over 4 years. What have you learned in that short period of time that may have surprised you about him, not necessarily as a player, but as a person?
Yeah, I knew he's a great kid, and coming from a really good family and community. He was a kid that was asked to play at all these prep schools and all that, and he loved his high school and his community. But having the opportunity not just to coach him, but to get to know him, he is such a genuine young man, and well advanced maturity-wise. He's extremely intelligent, book-wise, but people-wise, and he's humble. He's really got everything. This is not a phony guy, and to pun a little bit, he's more than a dunker. He's a lot more than a dunker. He's a very, very special human being and player.
We'll go right there.
Mike, a lot of the spotlight, I feel like nationally, is obviously on Zion and RJ. Do you think Trey gets enough credit for what he does for the team? And then kind of a two-part question: how similar or not is he to his brother? I guess. In terms
Yeah,
of
you know,
play
we're not in control of. We give credit. We're not in control of how you give credit. So if you want to change that, you change it, right? No, I mean, we're not. I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying that's the way it is. But internally, he gets a lot of credit, because he's as important a player as we have. He's very similar to his brother as far as just rock solid person, teammate, smart. They're a little bit different at that age. Trey is a better defender. Tyus was a better shooter, although not necessarily a better shooter than last night. And but they're big time moment players. They're not afraid of the moment. They react really well. But in the history of our program, there's not anybody who's been any better in the last couple minutes of a game in one season than Tyus was. At the end of games, he was good all the time, but at the end of games, he pretty much was perfect, for us.
We go right here.
Mitchell Gladstone, Duke Chronicle. Following up on that, I know
about that question.
Well, the point guard and coach relationship has always been important to you in particular. But how is your relationship with Trey? I know it was unique when he came in, but how has that evolved over the course of this season?
Yeah, it's terrific. He's somebody we haven't had for a while, and in that he does basically Winston does this for Tom. He can make in-game adjustments that the coach would want to make while the game is going on. They just understand the game, and they understand their team and their coaching staff, where they can make real-time adjustments, and it's a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage, and Michigan State has it with Winston, and we have it with Trey.
We're going to go on the right-hand side.
Hey, Coach Jeff Gravely, WRAL. 4 games in March, teams have had possessions with a final shot that could have beaten you. All 4 failed. Are you guys just living right? Is it the basketball gods? Where's the horseshoe? What is it?
No, I think we've played the whole game. And yesterday, there are different things that happen in that last 30 seconds. We have to play 3 defensive possessions with 29 seconds, and then the ball went out of bounds, and they stepped on the line out of bounds. So it should have been our ball. But it's not a reviewable thing because only one guy went out of bounds. So we knew it was out of bounds. So our guys had to be tough enough. Okay, now do it again. Then it goes off your hands. And then they run a great play. And, Zion did enough on it where he was not going to the basket, he was going away, and therefore he was short. So there's a lot that goes into it, but playing the entire game till the end is the thing, and then you accept the outcome. And obviously the outcome has been good for us, or else I wouldn't have the pleasure of spending time with you all today.
We're going to stay right in that area right there.
Hondo Carpenter from Spartan Nation. Coach, a couple
How'd
weeks...
you get that name, Hondo?
From the John Wayne movie.
Okay. So are you that tough a guy?
I don't think anyone's as tough as John Wayne.
All right.
All right. Coach, a few weeks ago when Tom won his 600th game, he cautioned fans and media to relax. It was half of what you had. And college basketball is such a cutthroat industry. A guy you compete with, Champions Classic, NCAA tournament recruits. For you two to have the relationship you do is very unique in the culture of college basketball.
Right.
Can you talk about that friendship?
Well, I think because we're both in it for we're not the only ones, but we're both in it for the love of the game and the love of kids and more old school. We both get paid a lot of money now, a lot, and but we didn't get in it for that. We got in it because we love the game, and he's never changed. He's a genuine guy. I hope that the people around me know that I haven't either. And he's done a lot for the game. The game is bigger than either of us or the two of us together or the matchup tomorrow. And we're just, I think we're both proud of the fact that we've been important people in the game. And, yeah, I really respect and like Tom a lot. Yeah, I think he's been great for, obviously for Michigan State, but for college basketball.
Over here, our left, Coach.
Mike, a little more global than Jeff's question. Obviously, you can have talent and skill and coaching and preparation, but at a certain point, as a coach, you do sort of have to relinquish yourself to the bounce of the ball or the basketball gods, as you like to put it.
Right.
At what point did you come to terms with how much control you can have over a game and how much you just kind of have to let see what happens?
Yeah, I think over the years, look, I try to let the players have more control over what goes on, and where, you know, you try to just, like yesterday, you just try to put them in certain situations where it's not so much a play, but different spots on the court where they can make reads, and when you have guys like RJ and Zion, they shouldn't be systemized, and then whatever happens, then I'm okay. I accept the result, you know, and it's our result, and I'd say I've been that way for a pretty long time now because I've had players who can do that, and yeah, it's been a heck of a tournament. It's actually been a heck of a March with Zion coming back and the ACC tournament, the 3 games in the NCAA tournament. And, you know, the thing that our team hasn't had is continuity. Since the first Syracuse game, we pretty much have not been a complete team because of some injuries. And the kids have been so resilient, and part of it is I think some guys have gotten better, like Alex's performance last night. You know, he didn't play the game before, and all of a sudden, 2 minutes before the game, you're starting. And he plays 30-something minutes, and he got 7 defensive rebounds. But, you know, he's also called upon at Syracuse, where he got 20 against their zone. And Jay Gold has done that. Even Antonio has done that. So the adversity of injury has actually given moments for a number of these kids to shine, even though they're not shining like Zion's dunk or RJ's performance in the second half or Trey's shots, but they're still shining, and it gives us a little bit more depth.
We're going to go to Marty, and we're going to work our way to the front.
Coach, back to Coach Izzo for just a second. I hope this isn't redundant. What qualities or attributes most impress you about his body of work, or do you most admire about his body of work and philosophy?
Yeah, well, I think Tom's genuine. You know, like there is no BS. You know, he's going to tell you what he feels is the truth, and you know, he's a terrific leader, and I've enjoyed my relationship because he'll tell you what he thinks, and he'll also accept what you think, and then, hey, if that's a little bit different, but it makes sense, you go with what's there. But really, it's right on the table, right on the table. I love that, and his passion for what he does. You know, he's one of the best ever. You know, and I'm glad to call him a friend, my friend.
Right in front of us, Coach.
Mike, Bob Winowski from the Detroit News. Just following up a little bit on Izzo. As good as him and his program has been for a long time, well documented your record, 11-1 head-to-head with Izzo. How do you explain that, and do you almost get nervous that he's got to be due at some point?
Yeah, I'm too old to be nervous, and remember nervous. That was, no. I'm not a big believer in coaches' records against one another because it's not like you have the same team, the same circumstance. Somebody might have been injured. It's a time where, your team wasn't functioning as well. Just like I'm not a big guy on, records on Tuesdays or Fridays or Saturdays or whatever. You play the team that you're going to play against right now, and they're capable of handing us a defeat. And it doesn't make any difference what's happened in the past, really. And same thing like yesterday. Somebody was, or whenever we played Virginia Tech, someone's saying, well, they've beaten you 3 out of 4. Well, they didn't beat my team yesterday 3 out of 4. It's the first time my team completely played against them. They beat our Duke team a few weeks ago that wasn't complete, and they weren't complete. So those stats don't mean anything. They really don't mean anything. And that one, to me, doesn't mean a darn thing.
I'm going to take 2 more questions from the back right in the middle.
David Hale with ESPN. This might kind of touch on what you were talking about earlier a little bit, but Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut mentioned Zion in releasing a report with the recommendation that he thought college athletes should receive more compensation or some compensation. I think Congressman from your own state of North Carolina had something similar about profiting off name and likeness. I'm curious what your thoughts are on federal involvement in these discussions, and has your experience with Zion this year and everything that surrounded him altered your perspective on those kind of talking points?
Well, I think he's become the face of a lot of issues. And it came into being when he got hurt, and then all of a sudden, everything that had to do with college basketball had Zion's face on it. The fact of involvement, I think that's good, but where does it go? Good ideas are great. How do you channel them? How do you turn them into action? And how do you coordinate good ideas from a number of different places? Or when someone says something, does it have to be their idea? So that's why when Pete asked that, we need to coordinate and I'd love, for a group to talk to those gentlemen who are in the federal government. How do they see that? And then say, oh, maybe if we did it this way, we can incorporate it that way. That's not being done. And so, the right fielder's saying something, the left fielder, let's get in the clubhouse and do it as a team. The kids deserve it. The kids deserve it. And in this time, the definition of amateurism and it's outdated. We need a new model. And with all these things that are changing, it cries out for coordination of creating this new model. And if we don't do it, our game's going to suffer. Our game is going to suffer.
And our final question from right in the middle, Coach.
Yeah, I'm
Coach
sorry.
Paul Woody, Richmond Times-Dispatch. Several years ago, you had a comeback victory over Virginia in Charlottesville when one of your players took over the game, and I can't remember who. I'm sorry.
Tyus, I think.
Yeah. It's 40 years, so the names kind of run together. So.
Me too.
Yeah. After the game, and I'm paraphrasing here, you talked about how he was able to slow himself down and do what he did, and how if you sort of wished you had the players for longer so you could work on slowing them down to improve their games. So what is slowing them down to improve their games, and do you miss the opportunities to have guys for 2 or 3 or 4 years to teach them what they need to know about becoming better players?
Yeah, the last part. Certainly, I'd love to have guys longer, because you get closer and you can work them. But you have to adapt and try to teach them as much as possible in a shorter period of time. As far as slowing down, talent should be used at different speeds and with different levels of motivation. And so sometimes when everything's going great, you get ahead of yourself and you don't fully think of the situation. Whereas you try to maintain a balance. The great players maintain a balance throughout a game. And these guys come real close to it at a young age. And then you'll see me every once in a while just kind of go, whoa, like, okay, that fast break was good, but now we need to run 4 wide or whatever. And where the older ones that are really good, they would be able to do that on their own. Changing speeds, and but again, these guys have done a really good job. It's not like our 215 team did it pretty good because Quinn Cook was able to do that with the freshmen, and these guys don't have that. And Emil and Matt Jones, they were steady in that regard. Okay.
All right, Coach, you're all
All
set.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep you on schedule.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.